And Coach, congratulations on your run to this Sweet 16. Thanks so much for your time here today. Also, thanks to all of our media members for participating. We'll now begin with questions for Coach Leonard Hamilton. Reminder that everyone can use the raise hand function to indicate if you'd like to ask a question. And when you're called on, please state your name and affiliation first. Our first question here this morning to Corey Clark with warchant.com. Corey, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Leonard, I was wondering, you talked about Jawan a few days ago. What was he like to coach? How much did you enjoy coaching him?
Jawan was the ultimate professional. He's always dressed appropriate. He handled every little detail with the utmost focus and professionalism. He dressed like a professional. He even down to what he ate, how much rest he got, how focused he was in the locker room, his unselfish spirit. I mean, he had all those high character qualities that you love to see in a basketball player, and he's that same humbleness that he operates with, the professionalism and his attention to detail, I think is what's really making Michigan an outstanding team. This Jawan being Jawan.
Corey, thanks for your question. Next, we'll go to Lane Hurt with Seminoles.com. Lane, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Coach, defensively, you've taken it to another level in the tournament. What's allowed this team to be so focused on the defensive end and play at such a high level?
Well, I'm not really sure we're doing anything different other than sticking probably a little more focused with our fundamentals, or the things we have in our defensive schemes. We probably just execute them a little better. We haven't had an opportunity to do a lot of practices because obviously we've been playing games, going to ACC tournament, coming here. I think our guys just locked in a little bit more with the game plan, and we at that point in the season where we've made enough mistakes that we pretty much can try to stay away from some of the things we're not doing very well. And we also realize there's a sense of urgency here. If you don't win, you're going home. So I think all that's a combination of that's kind of got us in a decent defensive frame of mind, or just in the right frame of mind that it takes to go ahead and what they say, survive in advance.
Okay, thanks for that question, Lane. Next, we'll turn to Gene Frenette from the Florida Times-Union. Gene, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Two-parter. Number one is is the fact that you're playing Michigan, a team that beat you in the tournament 3 years ago, any kind of a motivating factor, at least for the players who were there? And secondly, how much is getting to a Final Four for you and your players sort of a standard bearer, a milepost for you guys, since the FSU hasn't been there since 1972?
Well, in the first place, if I'm sure that we were extremely disappointed when we lost to Michigan. We haven't, a few years ago, we haven't discussed it. It's not something that we're harping on. If we need to have the revenge factor as a motivator, being in the Sweet 16, is that with the opportunities we have available, then I think we kind of cheating ourselves. We're focused on for the right reason. We got a lot of respect for them. They're a different team. We're a different team. The other team's not going to show back up, and neither are the guys who play for us. So we just going. We are anxious to play. They represent an outstanding team, a tremendous university, great tradition, and they well coached and they're loaded with talent. So that's all the motivation we need.
What about the Final Four milestone? How important is that?
Well, every team in America starts the season out wanting to be standing there on that ladder at the end saying that we're number one. And so I think we're just driven by, like all the other teams, wanting to get that elusive number one position, getting to that Final Four, represents a certain level of success that everyone's trying to get to. But what we're trying to do is just worry about that which we can control, and that's preparing ourselves for the next game, the next practice, and that's how you put yourself in the best position to win. If you put all the pressure on you to do something that's 2 or 3 weeks from now, another week or so from now, then you're not going to do as well with the task that you have in hand. You know, in the back of your mind, everybody wants to be number one. Everybody wants to get to the Final Four, no doubt about that. But the way you reach your potential and be the very best you can is worry about that which you can control. And what we can control, you know, hopefully we had a good practice today, and we're going to get some rest. We're going to study our films. We're going to have some good skull sessions, have maybe a shooting practice tonight and locked in. That's what we can control. And sometimes when you put your pressure on yourself to want to achieve a goal that's a little bit down the road, you don't do very much about staying in the moment and try to worry about that which you can control. We're trying our very best to keep us in that frame of mind. Needless to say, everybody wants to get to the Final Four. There's no doubt that they've dreamed about it, they've thought about it. But as a coach and staff, we know that in order to have that opportunity, we first got to take care of business now, and that's taking it one step at a time.
Thank you.
And thank you, Gene, for your question. Next, we'll go to Kurt Weiler with the Tallahassee Democrat. Kurt, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Leonard, hope you're well. Balsh is someone who's really come on down the stretch of late. Hey, I think he was 1 rebound away from 3 straight double-doubles before the Colorado game. I guess how encouraged have you been by how he's playing lately? And I guess how excited are you to see him go up against someone like Hunter Dickinson?
Balsa is growing and maturing right in front of our eyes. And he's got to the point where he realizes that if he can just give all he has, empty the tank, so to speak, give it tremendous effort, and then come out and get a rest, he can be more effective. So he's put himself in a frame of mind that he wants to go as hard with as much energy, as active as he possibly can be. And then if he gets fatigued, he comes out and someone else goes in. That's allowing him to, I think, be much more effective in the game. Sometimes you have a tendency, when you get tired, you want to coast a little bit, or you want to take a play off and kind of catch your breath. He's tried to eliminate those moments where he's taking a possession off and trying to stay in the moment and give tremendous effort for the whole time that he's on the floor, and I think it's paying off for him and for us.
Okay, Kurt, thank you for your question. Next, we'll go to Antoine Staley with the Tallahassee Democrat. Antoine, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to ask you just kind of, I mean, you played a number of talented teams throughout the season, just kind of how this Michigan team stacks up against everybody else.
Well, Michigan basically dominated the Big Ten this year, and some people thought that they were the number one team in the Big Ten, and maybe finished up top 3 or 4 teams in the country. I've watched them play. They're loaded with talent. They have tremendous perimeter shooters. They got a 5th-year point guard, a graduate student that makes great decisions, and their leading scorer is a freshman who dominates from the inside. I think he might have been Rookie of the Week maybe 5 or 6 times. He's their leading scorer. He finishes around the basket. He got to be shooting close to 65% from the floor. And so they have a well-balanced team, good shooters. They have a very experienced coaching staff led by Juwan Howard. And so they are a very, very good basketball team. But that's one thing good about playing in the ACC. You play against this level of talent and well-coached teams all the time. So I'm hopeful that our team will be prepared and be up for the job.
Hey, Antoine, thanks for your question. Moving along. Next, we'll go to John Romano from the Tampa Bay Times. John, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Leonard, going back to Gene's question a little bit, FSU has consistently been at the top of the ACC standings for about 5 years now. In today's world, does it take a run deep into March for fans to really start paying attention to what's going on with the program?
Well, to be very honest with you, like I answered his question, I worry about that which I can control. You know, I'm happy that we've had tremendous fan support, and the athletic department of the university has given us great support. But my primary focus is trying to prepare our team, and I think probably is you better suited to, you guys are better suited probably than I am to understand the mindset of our fans and how they look at things. Normally, if you have enough success, the people who are loyal to the school, they get behind you and support you. I do believe, though, when you accomplish things, especially like getting to the Final Four, that gives you a certain level of recognition. I think you noticed that we've coined the phrase "new bloods" because we realize that when we're in a conference of schools that have 75, 80 years of successful tradition ahead of us, and if we think we're going to become a blue blood, then maybe we might, in our lifetime, maybe that might not be something that we can accomplish. But we're trying to coin our own phrase, our own little niche of that which we can control, and that's seeing whether or not we can stack successful seasons on top of successful seasons, and then we will be raising the level of respect that people have for our program around the country. But in order to have that success, you got to be prepared so that when you get to those games that you can be successful in those when those opportunities come. And we just try to stay focused on those areas. But there's no question that we're still talking about the 1972 Final Four run. And so that tells you right there alone that is meaningful, and it's something that the fans and the school and the alumni can be proud of. But in order to do that, there's an approach, and that's taking it one step at a time and playing against a great team like Michigan, who everybody knows they're considered one of the blue blood programs in the country, and then that puts another notch in your belt if you can be successful.
Thanks for your question, John. Time for just a couple more. Right now, we'll go to Zach Braziller with the New York Post. Zach, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Zach Braziller, New York Post. Leonard, how would you describe your relationship with Juwan? I know you coached him years ago, and I think I've read that he kind of has visited you a few times at Florida State. How would you kind of describe your relationship with him?
Well, there's no doubt that Juwan is the ultimate professional. He's a class act. He's very bright. He's very intelligent. He's such a humble person that he has a good relationship with a lot of people. But because he played on a team that I coached, he's always given me that respect as one of his coaches. But over the years, we've established a better relationship where, when we've had conversations about a lot of things as it relates to our basketball program. So I got a lot of respect for him. Every time I get a chance to watch his team play, I do, and I root for him, and I'll be rooting hard for him, with the exception of when we play on Sunday. He's one of my favorite people in the business because I know what he stands for as a person. He represents all the qualities that I think the people at Michigan can be very proud of. And I think they need to sit back and relax and enjoy the ride because he's going to take them to those, maybe even higher than some of those places that Michigan basketball has been in the past.
Thanks for your question, Zach. Finally, we'll go to Dom Tibbetts with WTXL in Tallahassee. Dom, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Coach. I just want to know more so for you, what is life like for you guys inside the bubble? I've heard that, the guys are getting passing time playing video games. Uno tournament seemed to be big there too. Are you getting involved in that, or how are you passing time as well?
Well, I think that the fact that we here have an opportunity to compete for a national title is fun within itself. I do think that the fact that we're a number of days without any necessarily outside activities is all basketball. I think our guys starting to feel a little some kind of way, but getting them out on the field and letting them kick around and take them out away from basketball and play some little games that they enjoy, going to the little makeshift golf outing that they had yesterday that the NCAA provided for them. And I'll say this, and I think you guys need to understand this, especially the media. The NCAA has done an unbelievable job with planning this. Things have not been perfect, but I cannot say how impressed I am with how they put this tournament together, how well it's organized, and how much thought must have gone into trying to come up with this organized event to see to it that we have an opportunity to play for a national title. So you guys need to. We always criticize the NCAA for things that we don't agree with. Well, they need all the sugar we can give them. They need props and they need to be complimented for the job that they've done, regardless of what happens. If someone makes a mistake or something negative happens, this has been a fantastic run tournament, and they should be very proud of it. And as far as I'm concerned, me personally, I always got plenty of things to do. Recruiting never stops, phone calls never stop, relationships. So we on top of trying to do everything we can to see whether or not we can keep our program moving forward, planning, watching films, preparing for each game. I got all I can say grace over, but I've been extremely busy. Our players have gotten out of the hotel and gone a couple of places that they feel that is safe and sanitized, where our guys are in kind of a controlled environment, and they've enjoyed that. I think our players are in a pretty good frame of mind now.
Hi, MJ, good to go?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. We're now joined by MJ Walker, and we'll begin this portion of the press conference. MJ, congratulations on advancing to the Sweet 16. Thanks for your time here today. And a friendly reminder to all of our media members joining us right now, please use the raise hand function to indicate if you'd like to ask a question. And when you're called on, please state your name and media affiliation first. Our first question will come from Lane Hurt with Seminoles.com. Lane, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
MJ, Coach mentioned part of the defensive success could go back to that you're getting more practice time now because you don't get that time during the season. Are you using this time at practice to get back to some of the basics and maybe correct some of the small things you don't have a chance to during the regular season?
Definitely. I feel like the time that we've had, especially since we've been here, the way the NCAA has set it up with the multiple courts inside the convention center and our access to using the courts has definitely helped us, work on the intangibles and tighten up our screws a little bit. And, that's definitely what's going to help us win games. And for us to be able to continue to work on that in practice and sharpen up on those details, so that they transfer to the game is big for us.
Thanks for your question, Lane. Next, we'll go to Gene Fournette with the Florida Times-Union. Gene, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
MJ, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Coach has talked about, trying to focus on getting better each day, each practice, and leading up to whatever game that you have. But as players, have you talked amongst yourselves about, the hopefully the end goal of at least trying to get to a Final Four, which is something FSU has not done since 1972? Or do you guys do you just sort of avoid that kind of discussion and just sort of in the back of your minds think, well, that's just sort of understood we don't have to talk about it?
I mean, it's obvious, it's obvious a goal that not only us but a lot of programs have. But we try to take the mindset of just taking it game by game, and more so practice by practice. A lot of times in the past, it's proven for us when we have good practices and we're focused throughout the whole practice, and our energy is great, and we're making multiple efforts in practice, whether it's a loose ball or playing hard defense or using our voices to the best of our ability. I think that gives us momentum for the next game, and that's kind of the mindset we're having right now. We're just trying to take it game by game, not looking too far ahead, because if you do that, you don't really enjoy the moment and you don't really embrace the moment the best way you can. So kind of just taking that mindset, and whatever happens, but we only can control what we can control, and that's getting better in every practice first.
Thanks.
And thank you, Gene, for your question. Next, we'll go to Ira Schaffel with warchant.com. Ira, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, MJ. You're the only guy that played in that Michigan game a few years ago that's still on the team. What do you remember from that game? And when you watch them on film now, do they look similar or different? I know the players are different, but is it and the coach is different, but are they still similar in any way?
I mean, they still, I feel like their system is kind of the same. I mean, they kind of run a lot of stuff through their bigs. Hunter Dickinson has definitely been the heart and soul of their team this year. And I can't remember when I played who was the guy for them, but I mean, they had a couple guards who were pretty good on the wing. Not saying that their guards aren't good now, but I think their guards were pretty taller back then. They had like 6'8", 6'7" guards on the wing, so rebounding for them was a challenge. But I mean, I think now their team is kind of still the same type principles. I mean, they real physical. They like to score in the paint, and they get up and down the floor. They got guards that make good decisions with the ball, and like to get each other open and make wide open shots. So I think that's Michigan basketball.
Thanks for your question, Ira. Moving along. Next, we'll go to Chris Nee with Knowles247.com. Chris, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, MJ, kind of on the same theme of what Ira just asked you about. Their guards, what stands out about those guys and evaluating them and trying to figure them out, especially Mike Smith, since he's handling the ball so much?
I mean, definitely. I mean, I feel like they do a good job of finding each other on the floor. That's a team you kind of, not saying you fear, but a team that likes to look for their players and likes to get each other open. It's going to be a challenge because a lot of times guys like to score on their own, so you can focus in on one person. But when you got guys constantly trying to feed each other and guys that's constantly looking to get the next person open, that's a good team. That's what makes good programs and good scoring teams. So. For them, I think they do a good job of that, and especially their inside presence, or Hunter Dickinson and the other bigs. I mean, they're pretty much he's definitely carrying their team in the paint. So, I think they did a good job of that, getting him the ball and finding the open shooter on the floor.
Thanks for your question, Chris. Next, we'll go to Zach Braziller with the New York Post. Zach, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
MJ, what's it kind of been like here these last 4 years as you've really seen this program emerge and take the next step? And how big, why do you think Coach Hamilton has just been so successful?
I mean, I feel like each year we've taken a step up from the last year. I think that we've always trying to find ways to get better, not really staying the same. I think that we've trying to find something. Last year we watched film. The coaches watch a lot of film and kind of just nitpick and find things that we can continue to improve on and not get content with where we at or the success we may have had or things like that. So Coach Ham does a great job of just keeping his foot on the gas and moving forward. And, it transfers to the players. I mean, we do the same thing in the off season, and just building relationships with each other. I think the relationship part of everything for us has been a big jump within the last couple of years. Not saying it wasn't good my freshman year, but we've had different tools and different ways to be more connected on and off the floor. And that's definitely helped us, with the way our program is now and continue to build with our culture. So Coach Ham has done a great job of that. And I pray in the future it continues to get better. And, we're doing our best now with what we have and continue to push this program forward. So.
Thanks for your question, Zach. Next, we'll go to Benjamin Meyerson with the FSU. Benjamin, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, MJ, I just wanted to ask you about, this year you guys have as much time in between games as any year. I was just wondering, if there's any extra advantages to that and if that changes anything about the process of preparing for a team.
It's kind of weird. This year's it was a little different. Even though we had time, our time in the gym was still limited. We didn't really get the 24-hour access that we usually have, or 24 access treatment like we usually have during a regular season. So a lot of stuff we would just either be at home or we have to wait to that window to either get in the gym or that window to either get treatment. So that's kind of the challenge, but at the same time, we get more time off our body, so that was a plus. But it's kind of one of those things we just kept adjusting and, took it for what it was and just, continue to adjust throughout the season. And, even though it was like more time and less games, you still, felt the stress of the season kind of wearing on your body a little bit, especially later on in the season. So, it's still one of those type things like we just, adjusted on the fly and take it for what it was.
Next, we'll go to Dom Tibbetts with WTXL. Dom, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, MJ, I asked Coach, kind of the same thing, but from the player's perspective, what is, life like inside of this bubble in Indianapolis? How are you guys passing time, and what are some of the things you and the team are doing in that downtime?
When we first got here, they had the quarantine and everything. A couple of guys were having a little anxiety issues just because, just being inside a lot, not being able to just step outside. But, we kind of been doing that all season anyway. When we practice, we go straight home, and we'll be there all day to the next day. There was no going out. There was no, really going out to get your own food. Everything was either catered or we had to order it. So, it's really the life we were living just away from home. So, I'm just blessed to be able to have the opportunity to even play in March Madness, honestly. Whatever protocols we have to do, I'm willing to do it. I'm not really complaining about, not really, not doing what we want to do. We're here to play basketball. So, that's kind of the goal right now. And, we kind of just take it for what it was. I think the NCAA has done a good job also. I know we got a chance to go to the zoo the other day and be able to go just get outside and go to the field. And we went to Topgolf the other day. So, that was a great moment, I think, for all the players here personally. Especially because we've been inside so much. But, it's just part of it, and we're just enjoying it while we have the chance.
Time for our last couple of questions. Theo Mackey with umhoops.com. Theo, you can unmute yourself, ask your question.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about game prep for Michigan. I'm just wondering what you think this team's biggest advantage is against Michigan.
You saying for us personally?
Yeah.
I feel like we kind of match up 1 through 5, honestly, with all their players. I don't think there's really mismatch for any of us. I think that's the thing. I won't call it advantage, but we kind of just match up 1 through 5 with the rest of their team. So I feel like it'll be a good game.
Thanks for that question, Theo. And we will wrap up our final question coming from Corey Clark with warchant.com. Corey, you can unmute yourself and ask your question here as we close things up. Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, MJ, I was wondering, with these 5 days in between games, how much does that help you physically get ready for that Sunday game? And then also, who was the best golfer? And how much fun is it just to get outside just for a little bit and get to experience the fresh air for a little while?
What was your first question again? was like 3 of them.
His first, here, we can get Corey to chime back in. Corey, can you?
Sorry, yeah, your health. Just getting 5 days of rest.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It definitely, we needed that, especially with 1 day turnaround, playing Colorado. I mean, that definitely was well needed. To rest our bodies, get off our legs, and just relax a little bit. It definitely helped us, and we were able to regenerate our energy and our competitive spirits to get ready for this Michigan game coming up. The best golfer, we got a lot of good golfers out there. I'm gonna include myself in that conversation. Wild Wilkes pretty good. Justin Linder, Coach C.Y., Coach Smith, they pretty good. We got a lot of guys like Anthony Polite. We got a lot of guys with a little touch with the golf club, man. So if we were to play a little tournament, it'd be some competition out there for real.
Okay, MJ, thanks so much for your time and best of luck going up against Michigan in the Sweet 16.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this news conference. You can find a recording of it in the NCAA Digital Media Hub